both my parents are civil servants in Zimbabwe, and there's always been this kind of developmental focus in me and wanting to serve and give back. So I looked at the course and I was like, this looks really great, but it needed you to have 5 years work experience. So I kind of put it at the back of my head, and like maybe a year ago, no, 2 years ago, someone said to me, why don't you just apply? And I did. And here I am 2 years later in the course, and it's been amazing. It wasn't what I expected in some ways, because it was kind of challenging the norms of what we think about the public sector and how we can actually work towards a better and more efficient public sector, but not in a mainstream way, if that makes sense, but more in actually the practice, because we've got this ideology of how a public sector should be, right? We have all these ideas that are like, this is, it has to be efficient, it has to do X, Y, Z, but in a different African context where you have the terrible word corruption. But what drives that, and what is it actually doing? So that was quite fascinating. I love the challenge of thinking through it from a civil society point of view, because I work for a non-profit organization, which partners with government around climate change policy, but we're not in government, and my perception of government is obviously very different. So it was good. I really, really enjoyed it. It's not even just like, your direct public servant and civil society, but you're all grappling with similar issues. And it's understanding the bigger picture and the challenges inherent in all of our systems. I think we had this ethics course, right? And it brought to light the inadequacies in our sort of non-governmental world. Because we operate just like a government in some ways, and we are just as susceptible to human nature, because we're all humans at the end of it. And our systems are just more hidden because no one's focused on what's happening in the private sector, or what are civil society organizations doing. But we all sort of hold public officials to this higher level that is in a way unfair. And we need to kind of turn inward and be like, okay, what's happening in our systems as well? It was a very great balance, and I don't think I would have gotten that anywhere else in a different setting, where maybe it's just civil society actors, because you all just have the same worldview in some ways. And how do we start to challenge the norms in each of our worldviews? At the core of this program, it's not really about the theories and the experiences of practicing and development, but it comes down to the individual and the integrity of an individual, but not just integrity, because I think that kind of puts this whole spin of you're good or you're bad. But actually, it's what is the value system that we hold as an individual that actually starts to build our institutions and create our institutions. It's been really amazing to think of myself as a change agent. Because I'm also, I think I'm the youngest person in the class as well. So learning from people who've worked for a number of years, who've faced so many personal challenges as well, and how they've overcome that, I think has been really powerful. I'm quite passionate about equity. I'm quite passionate about how we plan for the future, to ensure that, the AU has this whole Agenda 2063, but I think it's kind of meaningless without people driving towards it. In a nutshell, my research is focused on governance and what does it mean for countries that are falling behind or considered falling behind. What does that mean given we're all going to be in this world and having to face climate change? And what are the sort of coping mechanisms that have been undertaken in some of these contexts? We've managed to establish such a strong unit, almost family in a way, that is that I haven't experienced in a typical academic setting, which I think is really powerful. And it comes back to those change agents and bringing individuals together who are trying to change the world. So, yeah, it's been one of the best things I decided to do. What the course has equipped me with is seeing myself as a change agent rather than just someone in a system. Yeah, so I think it's very powerful. It was a very great balance, and I don't think I would have gotten that anywhere else in a different setting where maybe it's just civil society actors because you all just have the same worldview in some ways. And how do we start to challenge the norms in each of our worldviews? At the core of this program, it's not really about the theories and the experiences of practicing and development, but it comes down to the individual and the integrity of an individual, but not just integrity, because I think that kind of puts this whole spin of you're good or you're bad. But actually, it's what is the value system that we hold as an individual that actually starts to build our institutions and creates our institutions. So I think that's been the greatest thing that has emerged for me, and what's actually at the center is about the person. Who are you, and what are your values, and how do your values contribute to a wider picture? And if you had the same, if you brought together a number of people in the same room who shared the same values and the same perceptions, imagine what a change that creates in the world.